Anyway, why don't you do the interview?
All right, so here it comes. This is our interview with Dave from Destructor. We had a great time discussing this band's history as well as maybe some ale and
He's a great guy.
heroes. What a great
I think
guy.
we're just trying to interview every band that's in Ohio, apparently.
There's a lot of big ones in Ohio, so we talk about that too. So here we go. Thank you, Dave.
Oh, well, great then. Well, huge fans of the band, going all the
Thank
way
you.
back to that first album cover, so iconic. Um, it reminds me a little bit of Destruction, Sentence of Death, the way it's so over the top with all the chains and leather and that photo shoot. What was that photo shoot like for the first record? I mean, did you have to hold those poses for like a really long time or?
So the way the photo shoot for the record came about was there happened to be a couple of buildings in downtown Cleveland that were being demolished, and we had heard about this, and we said, "Hey, this might be a great spot to get up there and do a photo session." So
Okay.
we got all our leather on and stuff, and there was like cars driving by, beeping their horns, and wondering what the hell is going on.
Right.
Some of it was pretty sketch because we had to climb up on all these boulders and rebar and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Huh.
but we just thought, maximum destruction, let's stand on something destroyed. And we happened to find it right in downtown Cleveland. So,
Yeah, that's great. Excellent. Yeah, one of my favorites.
Oh my God. Yeah. I love that you guys are back with Blood, Bone, and Fire.
thank you.
I love the names that you've had over the years. Maximum Discussion, of course, was great. Back to Bondage was great. Where do you come up with these great titles? They just grab you right away.
I don't know. I mean, most of it starts with a lyrical idea or a concept. And um, I just, because I'm in two different bands. Matt and I have a band now called Vulgar Devils, and that's like dirty rock and roll and leaning more towards metal, but it's really a throwback to um, the stuff that I grew up with and that I wanted to, I had all these ideas that don't necessarily fit Destructor, but they're good songs in my opinion. So I kind of am able to put things into different compartments. Like, all right, these concepts and these titles and stuff definitely are Destructor. These, you know, I can still use, but not for Destructor. But it's always just a pool of ideas and lyrics and inspirations that come from different things and different times that I come up with lyrics and titles for. So
We are arguing about what's going on in the album cover, the new album cover. The naked woman.
me too.
Oh, so you don't know either. Is she waiting to be burned, or is she part of the? Is she his?
I thought she
Like
was
what?
like
Is she his wench or something?
unwilling accomplice.
Yeah, I mean, we've
She
looked at the
kind of
album
looks like
cover.
she's surprised, doesn't she? Like,
I think it might.
oh,
I think she might be next. I don't know.
I think she might be next. So Matt Flammable had the idea for a guy that's got like four arms, and this
Right,
whole
right.
blood, bone, and fire thing. And the artist Diego just ran with it. He came to us through the record label, through Shadow Kingdoms, and Shadow Kingdom was like, I got this guy Diego. I want him to do the album cover. I'll send you, give me some ideas, and I'll send you the proofs. And um, at some point we're like, yeah, this is really cool, and it's different than the artists we've used in the past, and
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why we went with that. But did we have a whole lot besides the forearm guy? And I was like, put the Destructor guy as like a belt buckle, so you could still see like the world map in his head, like the Maximum Destruction guy. We call him the Destructor. And the artist just ran with it. So it's basically hands off when it comes to the band deciding what the cover was going to look like. But we were pleasantly surprised, and everybody seems to like it. So,
Yeah.
cover's just a cover, right?
Oh, a cover is. You totally can judge an album by its cover. You have to.
Sometimes, but what about Anthrax, Fistful of Metal?
Well, I know a guy that can draw this for us.
Yeah,
That's what
things were different back then, but sometimes art is so bad, but the content of the record is so great. It's nice
Yeah.
when they all sort of work together, but um, really, there's a lot of album covers out there that bands used at different times that you look back and it's like cringeworthy, but the albums are still great and the music stands the test of time, you
I
know.
always bring, whenever this comes up, I always bring up Artillery Terror Squad because
Yeah.
it may be the worst ever, but I got the story that they were done the record, and Neat Records was always, they were always famous for being so cheap. They were like, "Where's your artwork?" And we were
Yeah.
like, we don't. You guys were going to do that, and they're like, "No, go get a guy." So that's why that album cover sucks so bad. But
Here you go.
what a great record then.
We need something fast.
Right, exactly. Get your brother-in-law.
I asked everyone. I always imagined at the bottom it would be like the name and what high school, art show it was from.
Oh, Fistful of Metal. Yeah. No. Well, their artwork got better over the years. So.
They actually got a C- on that in 12th grade, but they used it for a record cover.
That's great.
Put it on there. It's fine.
Oh.
So I noticed, like, I love the old albums where you're all just like, yelling. Were you actually yelling or were you just like,
Most of the time we're really yelling. It's like, all right,
Okay.
go into maniac mode, otherwise it's just like, I'm not hearing anything. What's going on? Are you having a seizure?
I noticed in the real early band, you guys were into the makeup, but that seemed to go away pretty quick.
Yeah, the very first show, we were like, we're gonna put some eye makeup on and we're do this, and I think Slayer did that like at the first period, and then we got to the point before the record ever came out or anything. After our first show, we're like, all right, working on the image still. Let's lose the makeup because everybody seemed to be doing that, and we're like, what the hell? We're pretty handsome young men, so no, but seriously, don't have any regrets over it. It's kind of funny to look back on some of those photos. But it was all part of us 20-year-olds trying to come up with some sort of over-the-top image and in some respects emulating what we've seen other bands do, and then realizing, this is actually going to work better for us to do it this way or whatever,
Well, you guys were really one of the pioneers of the speed metal scene. You started as high school friends. Kind of, what was the catalyst that you were like, all right, starting a band?
I think it was just, there was a group of us, Paul Warhead, Pat Rabbit and myself, and Greg Canis, who was a friend of ours, was a drummer. We all sort of had these high school bands. We're in this lineup or we're in that lineup, or we're all in the same lineup, and we're trying to discover what we're doing. And we all lived in very close proximity to each other, and we all graduated from Euclid High School the same year, 1982. So it was a matter of having this common love for heavy metal, and I want to be a rock star, or I want to learn how to play guitar, and in basically just working things out. And finally we decided, I think we have something here. Let's call it Destructor. And we had a different drummer at the time. That was in 1983, was truly the very first formation of Destructor. But it wasn't until we met Matt Schindler, Matt Flammable, that he came in and his drumming style was completely different than the drummer that we were working with. The drummer that we were working with, he really loved, like Neil Peart and Rob Reiner, and he was a little more trying to be fancy or this or that. Matt just came in, he was pounding and just bashed the stuff out. We're like, now I think we have the chemistry, because it's always a piece of clay, especially in the early years, until you figure out, this is our starting point. And so when Matt joined the band in 1984, we always say that was the real beginning of Destructor.
Had you guys heard like the Canadian stuff? Had you heard like Exciter and
Yeah. I was definitely I bought Heavy Metal Maniac when it first came out. Big Exciter fan. I remember we went to go see Exciter in the basement of a place called the Pop Shop, or the Agora was a little club underneath. And Shock Paris was opening up, and we had yet to play our first show. Wow. But we were getting close, and we're like, oh my God, these guys, Shock Paris, are opening up. We knew who they were, but we're just like, we should be that band opening up for Exciter, and this should be our opportunity.
That's great.
And we actually met them and talked to Dan Beeler, and we're like, yeah, we're in a band too. And he goes, oh yeah, what's the name of the band? And we go, Destructor. He goes, I wrote a song named Destructor. And we go, we know.
Were there ever any other names in the running, or was that just from the beginning? It was like, yeah, it's Destructor.
God, if there was, it was such a long time ago, 40 some years ago. I honestly, I don't remember. There might have been, well, in high school, we had a band called Black Pyramid. And then we had a band called Damage Case, and we had a band called Hardware. And we're like, so, these names are okay and stuff. But then we stumbled, we're like, well, all right, we got to think of a name. And Paul held up the Exciter record, and he's like, how about Destructor? And we're like, fuck yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I thought you were going to say it was from the song Tyrant and the Hideous Destructor.
Yeah, well,
Every man shall fall, So.
It kept popping up, and so and it was like in a Hawkwind song.
Yeah.
And so we were like, that's the name, and we became Destructor. The funny thing is, and I won't go too far past this topic. A lot of people nowadays are like, oh, so you guys were trying to imitate Destruction or whatever. And the funny thing is, back at that time, if you went to a record store and you got some import records or you got a magazine, you would find out about some of these other bands. There was no internet. There was no way to find out what's going on the other side of the world. And I remember we were already named Destructor, and we had the leather and stuff. And every band would probably tell you it's influenced by Judas Priest. I mean, come on. Destruction didn't invent that, and all these other bands didn't invent the look.
Right.
They were just kind of carrying that on. And we were in a record store one day, and we pulled up a Destruction record, and we just kind of looked at each other. We're like, wow, okay. But at that point, it's like, they're Destruction, we're Destructor. This is still the beginning of everything in our minds. And I don't see a problem. It's actually, it's not the same band name. So,
yeah.
But we always get that comparison because of the name, and the look and the time we all came out to, in the scenes.
Yeah. I used to go, I would get I would read the thanks lists inside, like the special thanks to like Hyrax, and I'd write the names down and go look for them. Like that was the only way I could find out about.
Or tape trading.
Or whatever shirt James Hetfield was wearing. Sam Hain. Wow. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to believe now because everything's fingertips, So.
So I'm sure, have you ever had a band come up to you, ever and say, you were the inspiration for us starting our band, as iconic as Destructor is?
Yeah, I mean, it's beyond flattering, I guess, to hear that sometimes, and I try just to shrug it off, because everybody is influenced by something, right? And everything is sort of begged, borrowed, and stolen to some degree. But you guys know of the band from Spain called Iron Curtain, and they got their name from the Destructor song Iron Curtain. So sometimes things keep on taking on a new life of its own somehow. And it was really great. We got to play Spain this past March, and we got to play with those guys and finally meet them. And that was a really, really cool experience, because it's like we're the older guys, and this year's like the younger vanguard. And I personally always will support younger heavy metal bands and stuff. It's the future. I mean, how many more years does any band have? And if we want heavy metal, the thing that we love the most in life, to carry on, and then we certainly should support all of the really good younger bands that are trying to get out there and make a name for themselves and make some good music.
How is Spain? I've always wanted to go to a show there. I heard the fans are just insane there.
It was great. It was great. Yeah. The crowd was very, very enthusiastic. It's nice when you go somewhere else, completely on a different continent, and people will seem to know the lyrics of your songs, or will start chanting Destructor.
They don't even speak English, but they're singing English. That's
right.
Yeah.
So it's great,
It's very cool. We'll talk about, so there was a 1999 reissue of the album. Was it Blood? What was the album that got reissued in 99?
Back in Bondage was
Back in Bondage,
actually
right.
it was the second release that
Right.
was recorded originally in '88, but then you had to re-record it. Were
Right.
there a lot of changes by the time it finally got re-recorded?
Not really. I mean, we added a couple of new songs to that. Fight was a new one that I just written, and NBK was something that Pat and Matt helped with. But all of those songs were supposed to be part of Destructor's second record, which never happened because Dave Iannico was murdered, and we were in the middle of recording. So a lot of that stuff was unfinished. And then when we went back to listen to it, we're like, it's unfinished. Some songs we didn't even begin to record yet. Some of this stuff was a little bit messed up that we didn't have a lot of tools to fix. You know, if the drums were messed up on one of the songs, I think the tape ran out while we were recording. It's like, floop, 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 floop. And they're like, stop. But when we got back together again, we felt there was a lot of unfinished business that we had to do. And that was the first thing that we wanted to revisit. Was this is the songs that we wrote in 1987 and 1986. We wanted them to see the light of day, and we wanted that to come out. It was supposed to come out before Sonic Bullet. But we actually recorded the Back in Bondage sessions, I think, in 2001. And then 2002 or 2003 was Sonic Bullet. That's when Jamie joined the band.
I love all your surnames, the Holocaust and, but where is that given by the band, or does the person pick it, or does it kind of happen?
It kind of happens. So back in the day, it was like, you pick your name, okay. And nowadays and stuff, because there's been different members and different phases of the band and stuff. I think I came up with a couple of the names for the newer guys, but the way Matt, like, for instance, I knew that I was going to be called Dave Overkill because I was a huge Motorhead fan. And I remember my parents went on vacation, and I had a bunch of, and this was still in high school, I had a bunch of friends come over and stuff. We had a party at the house. We had the big windows open, and we're cranking Overkill. And we had taken some LSD at the time, so we started to play the record over and over and over and over again. Put it on again, and then I was like, yeah, Overkill. That's like one of my favorite songs at the time. So Pat originally was named Pat Marshall, and then he changed his name to Pat Rabid. Paul Warhead was Paul Saxon, I think, at first, and he changed it to Paul Warhead, kind of like after the Venom song. And we actually rehearsed above this chemical storage facility, and there was a bunch of, we were on the top floor, and there was a bunch of like those stickers that they put on trucks, flammable liquid, hazardous waste and stuff like that. We're like, those stickers are really cool. Can we have some of those, and the guys downstairs were like, yeah, here you go. And one day we just slapped them, the flammable ones, onto Matt's drums, and we're looking at it, we're like, you're flammable. And then that's just basically how it came out. So some of it's just us farting around and having fun. We don't try not to take it too serious.
Yeah, when I was in college, I was in a band, and we were more on the punk side, but I really wanted to have cool names. Like, I was going to be Johnny Dropout, and the other
I like that.
and the other guy was like something Heartbreak, like he was like in some Heartbreak. And the drummer, of course, ruined it. He didn't want to do it. He just wanted to be, Ted, or what the hell's name
You
was.
can't have all that and Fred.
I
know, and
I
Fred.
was so like cigarette hanging out. That was me. I was Joe Perry. I was like, yeah, Johnny Dropout. That's my name. So, whatever.
I can picture it. That's an awesome
Lost in
name
the
and
ether.
image.
Or like I'm dating a girl, and she's, what's your boyfriend's name? His name's Johnny Dropout. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Imagine the parents' reaction,
Don't bring him over.
He's not really a dropout. Oh, well, so.
Sure, he's not.
Yeah, when you were talking about reel to reel, back when I was a DJ, we had to record the network feed on reel to reel. That's how long ago that was.
So you were splicing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you had blue lines and cutting, razor blades, splicing.
Give me the tape.
So this is your first recording in 6 years with Blood, Bone, and Fire. How much has it changed recording, like when you were back with the flip to now?
Obviously it's changed a lot, but the spirit of when we actually record is still the same. We'll play together in a live room, and the most important thing is we're going to capture the drums, and if the bass guitar is virtually perfect, we'll leave that. Otherwise, Tim can go and he can touch up some stuff, and then we'll take the tape into the other studio in the back, and we'll set up all the amps and stuff in a different room, and that's when we go and we really work on the guitar tone and all of that. But the setting when we actually record, it's us all standing around by Matt, so we're still making eye contact, and, we can vibe off of each other, and smiles and all of that stuff, or frowns, like, what the, come on, man. But that helps to get a really good spontaneous take, and then basically we just build on that.
Very cool.
That's awesome. So a favorite track of mine from this one is The Heroic Age.
Thank you.
Were you thinking of any particular era or just heroes overall? Because I noticed in the video you had the Viking horns drinking, so I was like, is it Vikings?
Yeah, so the concept came of Matt had this idea, like writing a song about the age of Troy and the Trojan horse and the tales, whether they're true or weren't true of that time. And I started doing some research, and then a friend of ours, Sandy Kruger, who was the singer of the band Sacred Few, she was a very close and dear friend of ours. She just passed away a year ago, but her and I started to work on some of the lyrics. I was like, I actually want you to sing on this with me, because she's got a great voice. That never happened, but she did come up with some lyrics. The passage where she finds quick comfort in the songs that play in her head, I was like, oh yeah, a woman's perspective from the battlefield is really, really important, and those kind of things happen. My dumb ass, from the male perspective, I didn't really think about that, so we started to incorporate some lyrics, and I saved all the stuff that she contributed to that. And it was the last song we wrote for the record. I just felt that the song was not too fast. It was pretty catchy, and it was simple enough where it would be able to deliver a good lyric. And so we came up with Heroic Age.
Did you guys, honestly, was that a real pig head?
It was, yeah. I actually cooked it in my smoker outside, and then I took it over to the place where we did the photo shoot.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was great. I love the way, like, you guys have always stayed consistent with your metal fashions. Where's the best place, like, that? Is there a go-to place for that, or is it a DIY, do it yourself?
It is a do it yourself. Yeah, basically we'll go. Now there used to be shops in town and stuff, and now I'll basically go to studsandspikes.com, and I'll buy all that stuff, and I'll buy like blank leather vests and articles. Sometimes I'll buy some leather, cut it out, make our own wristbands or whatever. But it's so easy to do the stuff. Just make it yourself now, and then it also makes it unique, so it's not like, well, you bought that at Hot Topic at the mall or someplace,
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hosers.
We had this one way, they had all these chains in their video. I was like, where did you get that from? They're like, yeah, Home Depot. I'm like,
a hardware store. Totally.
Yeah.
Well, with a little bit of razor wire, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the right thing.
Don't cut yourself on stage, right? Well, the Ohio metal scene seems so prolific, like with Midnight and Nunslaughter, who we talked to not too terribly long
Yeah,
ago.
we had Don on the show.
Night Goat, Buzzbin. I mean, it's just, Baltimore doesn't seem like that to me. There's just not a lot of, like,
There's no.
there isn't. I mean, a few. And some of them we didn't even realize were from here until recently. But what is it about Ohio that spurns this kind of rock?
Oh, I don't know. That's a hard question to pin down. I mean, the joke in Cleveland is there's more bands than there are fans, and sometimes, you're playing a show and stuff, and I'm like, there's dudes from Nunslaughter, there's the guys from Rip Ride there. I mean, you're playing for all your other fellow musicians, and some of them are like, yeah, and some are like this.
Wow.
but there's a good scene here, still a lot of camaraderie. I've been great friends with the guys in Nunslaughter for a long time. Don's like a really good friend. Noah is the genius engineer at the recording studio at Mercenary. He's the one that recorded most of the record. Sean Vanek, guitar player from Midnight, recorded the other stuff. That's him and his brother's studio. And then Noah Buchanan mixed and mastered and gave it a production. So, and I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Jamie Athenar from Midnight was a member of Destructor for 11 years. And he helped write a good amount of songs on Decibel Casualties. He wrote the song Sonic Bullet. He wrote a fair amount of songs with me on Forever in Leather as well. So him and I have been really good friends for a long time.
It was great when we interviewed Don. I had a nun habit on.
You
He was
did.
dying.
Yeah, it turned out good.
It was right around Halloween. I'm like, why
He
not?
liked it. He liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you guys played that hometown for Halloween together, so I knew there had to be some kind of connection. And you had a split with Nunslaughter.
Yeah. So, and I think this was Athenar's idea and Jarvis's idea. They wanted to do the 20th anniversary of Midnight, and I think Athenar was like, well, let's put all the bands that are like my personal friends on this bill. And obviously Nunslaughter was one of them. Jamie's always been a huge Black Death supporter, and Black Death played on that bill as well. It was their first gig in like maybe 2 years or something like that. And we opened up the show. We played at 8:00 to set the tone for the night, and the place was packed, and it was nice because in Cleveland, sometimes, unless it's an event, you play for 20, 30, 50, maybe 100 people. And there was about 500-600 people at this gig. So, and a lot of them were from out of town. Midnight has a huge following, obviously. And it was just great to be part of that and be included in that.
And we saw them when they came to town not too terribly long ago. Great. Absolutely.
Are you a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame hater or indifferent, or?
I guess I'm sort of indifferent. I'd like for it to be something great. I've been there a couple of times, and it's just like, yeah, okay. Some of my European friends are like, hey, we're in town. Can you take me to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I'm like, really?
Yeah.
There's Michael Jackson's glove. There's ZZ Top's fuzzy guitar.
Every year I'm like, who got in? And it's always like Lionel Richie, sax player.
Yeah, exactly.
Dolly Parton. Yeah.
It's kind of a joke.
Span. I'll be like, who? But not Thin Lizzy.
Oh,
of
right.
course not. Where do they? Who the people they pick are the?
It's a corporate thing, and you have to be in the, you have to be part of the clan or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
a lot of those old Rolling Stone guys, I think, from Rolling Stone magazine, that kind of are at the core, and they whip on everything.
And then also, if like you got $1 million and now your investment, your say so be more than the guy that actually like listens and saw Aerosmith on their very first tour or something,
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, we went off about the whole Dolly Parton thing, and then she felt the need to record a rock album, because maybe if you're in the Hall of Fame, that might be a good idea to actually have a rock album. How does that work?
And it's like the worst, like Z-list people with her. It's like Steven Tyler and Sting and
So you guys recently played in Germany at the Keep It True festival. What are the fans like? Are they different there? Are they a little more intense?
The crowd at Keep It True was great. It was one of the best crowds we had an opportunity to play for. It was, we were third on, and everybody that goes to these kind of festivals, they're not like, I think we'll show up after 7:00 and see so-and-so. Like, they've already made the pilgrimage and bought the tickets, and they have the arrangements. They're there. They want to see every band, and they absorb it from the beginning all the way to the end, if they make it to the end. But the crowd was really, really great. I mean, again, we're in Germany. There's 2,000 people. We're the third band on, and people are chanting Destructor. they're going crazy, and the response after every song was really, really good. And fortunately for us, we felt for the most part we were playing in tune and on time, and we had a good show, and that's all you really can ask for. And try not to analyze a show that's happened too much, like you'll just drive yourself crazy. Oh, I screwed this up, or we did this or whatever. It's like a fraction of a moment in time, and it happens so quickly, but in your mind you're like,
Exactly. I love that the German audiences, they have none of our shitty American irony where it's that everything is at a lyric like "at a time when the dinosaurs walked the earth." The Germans are like, yeah, that's what. There's nothing funny about that. They have no irony. They're just man of war, straight ahead, loincloth. Yes, it's great.
and festivals like that, with those kind of lineups and that many bands and stuff, there's people from all over. There was people from the United States, there was people from South America there, Canada, Europe and stuff. So it's great to be able to play in front of that kind of a pool of audience where they've come from all over. And some will be like, I never heard of you guys before. And we're like, I don't know how. Okay. And they were like, you were great though. Or, or I've waited, the past 10 years and we did a signing and stuff, and they had stacks of shit like this for us to sign. It's like, I got my whole entire collection. Here's this version. Here's this version. And so the dedication of that and the quality of people that come to those shows, they're there because they want to be there and they love heavy metal.
I always wonder at the fashions. Yeah, there'd be a woman. You remember this? She had a leather jacket that had Venom "Welcome to Hell" on the back, and it wasn't spray painted. It was like she bought it like that. Where do you get in 2023
She
a
bought it like
size
that?
0 female Venom leather jacket?
I would think she probably would have painted that herself, or somebody would have painted it
I
for
was
her.
I was really looking at it, and it was too well done to have been a DIY, my opinion. So.
Yeah, going back to like Germany, I was watching the video of you at WAC in like 2008, and you are just a sweat ball. I was like, was it hot? Was it light?
Yeah. It was hot. I think that was like late August. It was really, really muggy. And the weather in northern Germany, it's either like a beautiful day or it's torrential rain and pressing heat. There's it doesn't seem to be like any middle ground when it comes to that.
Sounds like Baltimore. We're either 90 or
God. It's been crazy.
Yeah, same here in Cleveland. You guys know how it is. The weather it's like spring one day and then it's like 85 degrees total humidity the next day. And
I can't put any clothes away. Like I might need a tank top, I might need a jacket. I don't know. So,
it's always one of those, the middle of the day you can get away with like shorts, and by night you're like putting on your sweatpants.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
So what do you credit most with keeping this band's true sound to its original 80s speed metal style, while this past record you sound even more fueled than ever?
Thank you. I that's a good question, I guess. Having half of the original band, having Matt's drumming style and the relationship that I have with Matt for all of these years, and the fact that I'm the primary songwriter, although many other people have helped write songs. It's not like I wrote all the songs, but lyrically you're going to hear like the same singer. And unless I've lost my mind and I took a left turn and I go off-roading and stuff, I know what is going to work for the band. And I still always have like, I've got these great ideas, another great song, and all these this pool of stuff to work with. I know where I'm going to go with it, and I'm the one steering the ship for the most part. So I think that's where the consistency comes from.
Well, it sounds like also you have that separation because you have that other band, and you're able to say this is Destructor and this is, like you were saying, I think
right,
that's part of it too. So you
having
get
an outlet for
material,
ideas,
but you can be selective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking, a lot of your, like, the metal themes are actual metal, iron, steel. And it always seems like in like black metal, it's horns. In this metal, it's literally metal. I was always like, why does that fuse together like that?
It works. Yeah.
Lots of metal.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to think of other concepts and do stuff a little outside the box. And I think that this last record is really, really close to our roots, but still also in the 21st century. So, it can't be mistaken like this. This probably sounds like it was recorded in 85. It's a little more modern sounding, but the style of the music and the delivery of the songs and the hooks and the melody and all that stuff is still that passion that we've been carrying from the early days till now.
Oh, they're all being in the same room thing is
Yeah.
really important too. I mean, there's some of these labels where you could tell they have this group of musicians that they just trade files, and every album they put out, it's like George Lynch and Doug Pinnick. And it's like, were they ever in the same room together? No.
You got to
No,
wonder sometimes. Yeah. I
there's
mean,
a lot of that.
sometimes if it sounds too sterile or
Yeah,
too perfect.
right.
Um,
And they're not going to tour anything. It's like, come
Right.
on. Yeah.
Your vocal style, and I would say this about you, and we talked to Tim from Sirith and Ghoul. It's better than ever. Do you have any tips or tricks for keeping your voice fresh? Or
No. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really haven't done anything. A lot of times I'll drink and smoke too much, and then I'll go for a period where I don't drink and smoke. But I know that when it comes to going in the studio or preparing for live shows, that I get it together mentally and physically, because it's way harder the older you get. And I guess I'm just fairly lucky that I open my mouth and the same sound comes out. I might not have some of the same range I had when I was younger, but I also gained some other things that I didn't have back then as well. So kind of evens out.
Yeah, talking to the older guys is so great. Like she was saying, Tim from Sirith and Gall, he just dropped casually that he saw Priest on the Sad Wings tour. It was like $5. I mean, what? And
I wish I would have seen that.
I know, right? That was when they were still wearing like sashes and hats and stuff. That was before, like you said, the leather.
Right.
And then when we interviewed Malcolm from Quartz, he was saying that Tony Iommi, before Sabbath, auditioned to be in their soul project. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
How old are you guys? Yeah.
Older than me.
Yeah, just the stories are so great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we are so glad to have you guys back, and we will continue to spin this many times in our household.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
I really appreciate the support and the interest in taking the time to do an interview like this. It's been my pleasure.
All right, my friend. Well, thanks so much again. This has been great.
Best of luck to Snaggletooth, and thanks for the time. I really appreciate it.
Hopefully we'll get you over here to Baltimore for a show.
Yeah. Well,
that'd be great to come back and play Baltimore.
You'll just suddenly sit down at the bar, and we'll walk up and say, "Remember us?" That's usually how it goes.
And I'll say, yes, I do.
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.